on to Nyota, and when the whispers of the curse reached his ears, he laughed them off. "I will marry Nyota," he declared boldly to the village. "And I will break this curse." The village was filled with murmurs of disbelief, but Sefu's heart was set. He believed in the power of love and was determined to prove that love could conquer any curse. Nyota's heart pounded with a mixture of hope and fear. She had seen too many of her suitors fall victim to the curse, but Sefu's confidence sparked something within her. What if he's right, she wondered. What if the curse can be broken? And so, against the advice of the village elders and the fearful whispers of the people, Nyota agreed to marry Sefu. As they exchanged vows under the baobab tree, the air felt thick with both joy and dread. Could this be the end of the curse, or was Sefu just another man walking toward his doom? The first few months of their marriage were blissful. Sefu and Nyota were happy, and for a moment, it seemed like the curse had been nothing more than a tale to scare people away. But then, strange things began to happen. Sefu would wake in the middle of the night, drenched in sweat, his heart pounding. He dreamed of shadows, dark figures that whispered his name. Nyota, too, began to feel the weight of something unseen, a presence that lingered in the corners of their home. One evening, as they sat together under the stars, Nyota voiced her fears. "What if the curse is real?" she whispered, her voice trembling. Sefu took her hand in his grip firm and steady. "We will find a way," he said. "I will not leave you, Nyota. We will fight this together." But as the days passed, the strange occurrences only grew stronger. Animals in the village began acting erratically, and the villagers themselves seemed to keep their distance from Sefu and Nyota, as if they could feel the darkness closing in. Desperate for answers, Nyota and Sefu sought the help of a wise old woman who lived at the edge of the village. She had lived through many generations and was said to know the secrets of the land. When they arrived at her small hut, the old woman greeted them with a knowing look. "I've been expecting you," she said, her voice raspy but clear. "The curse of Nyota's beauty is older than you know. It is tied to a dark secret buried deep in the history of this village." Nyota's heart sank as the old woman began to explain the origins of the curse. Many years ago, a jealous sorcerer had fallen in love with Nyota's ancestor, a woman of incredible beauty. But she did not return his affections. Enraged, the sorcerer placed a curse on her bloodline, ensuring that any woman born with her beauty would bring death to her suitors. "The curse can be broken," the old woman said, "but it will not be easy. You must find the sorcerer's remains, buried deep in the forbidden forest, and return them to their rightful place." Sefu was determined. "We'll go," he said without hesitation. Nyota, though terrified, knew they had no other choice. The next morning, they set out for the forbidden forest, a place no one in the village dared to enter. The trees towered above them like silent sentinels, their branches twisting and creaking as if whispering secrets to each other. The deeper they went, the darker it became. The air grew thick, and the silence was they ventured deeper into the forest. They encountered creatures they had only heard of in stories, shadowy figures with glowing eyes, strange sounds that echoed through the trees. Nyota clung to Sefu, her heart racing with every step. But Sefu pressed on, his determination unwavering. They followed the old woman's instructions, searching for the sorcerer's tomb. Hours passed, and the forest seemed endless. Just when they were about to lose hope, they stumbled upon an ancient stone marker, half buried in the earth. This was it. The ground trembled as Sefu began to dig. Nyota watched, her breath caught in her throat. Finally, Sefu unearthed a small, crumbling box, the sorcerer's remains. But as soon as he touched it, the ground shook violently, and a dark, menacing figure rose from the shadows. It was the sorcerer, his face twisted in anger. You dare disturb my rest, he hissed, his voice like the wind through the trees. Nyota and Sefu stood frozen, their hearts pounding in their chests. We have come to break the curse, Sefu said, his voice steady but his hands trembling. The sorcerer laughed, a cold, hollow sound. You think you can break what has been bound for centuries, he sneered. You are foolish. But Sefu refused to back down. Love is stronger than any curse, he said, his voice growing stronger. We will break this, for Nyota's sake, and for the future of our village. The sorcerer's eyes narrowed. Very well, he said. But you must make a choice. One of you must offer your life to free the other. Nyota gasped, tears welling in her eyes. No, she whispered. There has to be another way. But the sorcerer shook his head. One life for another. That is the only way. Nyota looked at Sefu, her heart breaking. How could they choose? How could she ask Sefu to give up his life for her? But before she could say anything, Sefu stepped forward. I will do it, he said. Take me, but leave Nyota. Nyota cried out, trying to stop him, but Sefu turned to her, his eyes full of love. This is the only way, he said softly. I love you, Nyota. And I would rather die than live without you. Nyota sobbed, clutching his hand. But there was nothing she could do. The sorcerer raised his hand, and in an instant, Sefu collapsed to the ground. Nyota fell to her knees, tears streaming down her face. The sorcerer's dark figure began to fade, and with him, the curse lifted. But the price had been paid. Nyota was free, but her heart was shattered. She returned to the village, carrying Sefu's body, and the people wept with her. The curse was broken, but the cost was too great. At Sefu's funeral, the village gathered to honor the brave warrior who had given his life for love. Nyota stood before them, her heart heavy with grief. But she also knew that Sefu's sacrifice had not been in vain. His love had been stronger than any curse, and though he was gone, he had freed her from the dark fate that had haunted her family for generations. Nyota sobbed uncontrollably, holding Sefu's lifeless body in her arms. The forest was still, as if mourning along with her. For a long time, she couldn't move. The pain was unbearable, like a sharp knife in her heart. How could she live without Sefu, the man who had loved her so fiercely? The man who had sacrificed everything for her. She felt lost, broken, and alone. But suddenly, something inside Nyota stirred, a faint hope. The old woman had said that the curse could be broken, but there had to be a way to bring Sefu back. Desperate, Nyota called out to the spirits of the forest. Please, she whispered through her tears. Please, if there is any mercy left in the world, bring him back to me. Her voice echoed through the trees, but there was no answer, just the rustling of the leaves. Just when Nyota was about to lose hope, the ground beneath her began to tremble. She looked up and saw a faint light emerging from the trees. It grew brighter, and from the light stepped a figure, an ethereal woman dressed in shimmering white, her face kind but stern. Who are you? Nyota asked, her voice hoarse from crying. I am the spirit of the forest, the woman said softly. I have watched over your village for centuries. I have seen your suffering, and I have seen your love. Sefu's sacrifice was noble, but there is one more thing you must do if you wish to save him. Nyota's heart leaped with hope. What must I do? She asked, willing to do anything to bring Sefu back. The sorcerer's curse was not just a spell, it was tied to the land and the spirits that dwell here. To bring Sefu back, you must find the heart of the forest, where the first tree was born. There, you will find the essence of life itself. But be warned, the spirit continued, her voice heavy with caution, the journey is perilous, and not many return from it. Nyota nodded, her resolve hardening. She had already lost too much. She couldn't lose Sefu, not after everything they had been through. "I will go," she said with determination. The spirit nodded and began to fade into the light. "Follow the path of the setting sun," she said as her form disappeared into the trees. Nyota wiped her tears, kissed Sefu's forehead, and whispered, "Hold on. I will bring you back." The journey to the heart of the forest was even more dangerous than Nyota had imagined. The path was treacherous, filled with jagged rocks and thick roots that seemed to reach out to trip her. Strange creatures watched her from the shadows, their eyes glowing in the darkness. But Nyota pressed on, driven by the love she had for Sefu. As she walked, she thought about all the moments they had shared, the laughter, the quiet evenings under the stars, the way Sefu's eyes lit up whenever he saw her. She couldn't let that be the end. The thought of living without him was more terrifying than anything the forest could throw at her. After what felt like days, Nyota finally reached the heart of the forest. It was a clearing bathed in golden light, and at its center stood a massive tree, its roots twisting into the earth like ancient fingers. The air was thick with magic, and Nyota could feel the power of the place humming in her bones. She approached the tree cautiously, her heart pounding. At the base of the tree was a small pool of shimmering water. Nyota knelt beside it, her reflection staring back at her. This was it, the essence of life. "Please," she whispered again, tears falling into the pool. "Please help me save him." As her tears touched the water, the pool began to glow brighter, and the tree above her shuddered. The roots shifted, and from beneath them, a small object emerged, a glowing orb, pulsing with life. Nyota reached out, her fingers trembling as she touched it. Immediately, she felt a surge of energy flow through her, like a river of warmth and light. The orb was the key. With it, she could bring Sefu back. But as she held it in her hands, the spirit's warning echoed in her mind. "The journey is perilous, and not many return from it." Nyota knew what she had to do. With the orb in her hands, she hurried back through the forest, the path seeming shorter this time as if the forest itself was guiding her. When she finally reached Sefu's body, she knelt beside him and placed the orb on his chest. "Come back to me," she whispered. The orb pulsed once, then twice, and then it dissolved into Sefu's skin. For a moment, nothing happened. Nyota held her breath, her heart pounding in her chest. But then, slowly, Sefu's chest rose and fell. His eyes fluttered open, and he gasped for air. Nyota's tears of sorrow turned to tears of joy as she hugged him tightly. "You did it," Sefu whispered weakly, his voice barely audible. "We did it," Nyota corrected, her heart full of love and relief. But the danger was not entirely over. As they made their way back to the village, Nyota could sense that something had changed. The curse was lifted, but there was still an uneasy feeling lingering in the air. When they arrived, the village was quiet, the people watching them with a mixture of awe and fear. The elders approached them cautiously. "The curse is broken," Nyota said, her voice strong despite her exhaustion. "But it cost us dearly." The village elders nodded solemnly. "The curse was a shadow over us all," one of them said. "But now that it is lifted, we can begin to heal." And heal they did. Over the coming months, life in the village returned to normal, and Nyota and Sefu found peace. But they were forever changed by their journey. They had faced the darkness together and had come out stronger because of it. Nyota and Sefu returned to their village, but the journey they had undertaken had left them changed. As they walked through the familiar paths of Muel, hand in hand, the villagers gathered around them in silence. Many were in awe of their bravery, but others still held fear in their hearts, fear of the curse, fear of the unknown forces that had lingered in their village for so long. Sefu's return from the dead was something they could not easily comprehend. Whispers floated through the air, speculating on whether the curse had truly been broken. Nyota and Sefu were welcomed back, but there was a distance, an invisible barrier between them and the villagers, as though the darkness they had faced had left a lingering mark on their souls. Sefu, still recovering from his ordeal, spent days resting and regaining his strength. Nyota stayed by his side, watching over him, but deep down, she could not shake the feeling that something was still unresolved. The spirit of the forest had warned her that the journey was perilous, and though they had succeeded in bringing Sefu back, there was a strange emptiness inside her, a void that had not been there before. One night, as Nyota lay awake beside Sefu, she heard a whisper in the wind. It was faint, almost like a dream, but it called her name. She rose quietly, not wanting to wake Sefu, and stepped outside into the cool night air. The village was peaceful, the stars twinkling above like tiny lanterns in the sky. But the whisper came again, and this time, it was more insistent. Nyota. She followed the sound, her heart pounding. It led her to the edge of the village, where the great baobab tree stood, a place of power and tradition. Under the tree stood the same ethereal figure she had encountered in the forest, the spirit of the land. "You have broken the curse," the spirit said, her voice soft but commanding. "But there is one final choice you must make." Nyota's heart sank. "What do you mean? I thought the curse was lifted when Sefu returned." The spirit shook her head slowly. "Sefu's life was returned to him, but it was borrowed. The balance of the world has been disturbed. In order for him to truly live, a price must be paid." Tears welled in Nyota's eyes. She had thought the worst was over, that their love had triumphed, but now this. "What must I do?" she asked, her voice barely above a whisper. The spirit's eyes glowed with an ancient wisdom. "You must choose between two paths. One, Sefu will live, but you will be bound to the forest, never to return to the life you once knew. You will become a guardian of the land. Your beauty fading with time, your life entwined with the spirits. The other path, you may live together in peace for the rest of your days, but Sefu will only have one more year before the curse claims him again." Nyota's breath caught in her throat. How could she make such a choice? How could she condemn herself to a life of solitude, away from Sefu and the world she loved? But how could she let him live knowing that his days were numbered once more? The spirit watched her in silence, giving her the space to decide. Nyota closed her eyes, feeling the weight of the decision pressing down on her. Memories of Sefu flooded her mind, the way he had always believed in her, his unwavering love, his courage. He had given everything for her. Now it was her turn. With a deep breath, Nyota opened her eyes and faced the spirit. "I choose the first path," she said, her voice steady despite the tears that threatened to fall. "I will become a guardian of the forest. Let Sefu live." The spirit nodded solemnly. "You have made a wise and selfless choice. Sefu will live, and the curse will never touch him again. But know this, Nyota, your sacrifice will not be forgotten. The land will remember you." With those words, the spirit disappeared into the night, leaving Nyota standing alone under the ancient tree. The stars above seemed to shine brighter, as if they too acknowledged her sacrifice. Nyota wiped her tears, knowing that she had done what was right, even if it meant she would never see Sefu again. The next morning, Sefu awoke to find Nyota gone. Panic gripped his heart, but as he rushed outside, the village elder approached him with a knowing look in his eyes. "She has become one with the forest," the elder said quietly. "She made the choice to save you." Sefu fell to his knees, tears streaming down his face. He knew the depth of Nyota's love for him, but he had never imagined she would make such a sacrifice. His heart ached with the weight of her decision, but he also knew that she had freed him from the curse forever. She had given him the gift of life. In time, the village of Muel began to heal from the shadow of the curse. Sefu became a leader, a protector of the village, but he never forgot Nyota. He would visit the great baobab tree every night, speaking to the wind, hoping that somehow, she could hear him. And though she never returned, Sefu could feel her presence in the rustling of the leaves and the whisper of the breeze. Thank you for watching Nyota's Dilemma. This story teaches us about the power of love and sacrifice. Nyota's choice reminds us that true love is about giving, even when it means letting go. Her courage and selflessness broke the curse and saved the man she loved, but it also came at a great cost. Sometimes, the greatest acts of love are the ones we don't see. We hope you enjoyed this story. If you did, please like the video, leave a comment sharing your thoughts and what you learned from Nyota and Sefu's journey. Don't forget to share it with your friends and family. And, of course, subscribe to our channel for more stories that touch the heart and stir the soul. Stay tuned for our next video, and until then, take care and watch out for the next adventure. Bye.